Orders of the day.
Notice of motion number 3, Ms Forrest to move a motion to refer matters to Government Administration Committee A for inquiry and report.
Honourable Member for Murchison.
Thank you, Mr President. I move the motion standing in my name. Mr President, this motion seeks to support the Legislative Council to undertake an inquiry into the financial performance and challenges of the major energy entities in a timely manner. These entities are very important components of the state sector. The motion calls on Government Administration Committee A to inquire into and report upon the financial position of the major energy entities, taking into account their half-yearly financial statements, factors impacting on the ongoing and future profitability and financial performance of the major energy entities, the implications and potential impacts of Australian energy regulated determinations on the financial performance of the major energy entities, the impact of small-scale energy generation on the major energy entities, and the impact of federal government decisions regarding renewable energy policy on the major energy entities. Mr President, the timely scrutiny of government actions and government businesses is an important aspect of our role. Such scrutiny is vital to enable the Parliament and the people of Tasmania to be informed of any concerns regarding the performance of government businesses, or indeed positive aspects of their performance, and it's particularly important that we're informed in a timely manner. Mr President, before I speak directly to the importance of conducting this inquiry, I'd first like to inform members as to why I've taken this approach in seeking the support of the House to refer this matter to the Government Administration Committee A. Mr President, standing orders for the sessional committees enable Government Administration committees to initiate such inquiries on their own motion. Members of the Government Administration Committee A would be aware that I have sought to gain support for this important inquiry. However, the committee has been locked in a 3-3 vote on this matter. As a result of the voting deadlock, I sought advice from you, Mr President, and from the Clerk. My advice was to bring this motion before the whole House for referral, and this is a matter that will be entirely appropriate for the Government Administration Committee A to inquire into, and an appropriate action to take. So, Mr President, I have not sought to establish a select committee in this circumstance. I have followed the advice from you, Mr President, particularly. You advise that we use the committees established for this purpose in the event that current members of the Government Administration Committee A do not wish to participate in the inquiry. They may either seek a substitute member from Government Administration Committee B, or we can form a subcommittee of Government Administration Committee A to conduct such an inquiry. When the terms of reference fall clearly within the scope and purpose of Government Administration Committee A, this is indeed the most appropriate approach. Mr President, I wish to inform members, particularly those who are not members of Government Administration Committee A, my reasons for seeking support for the motion. Mr President, the borrowings of the energy entities represent 95% of total state sector borrowings, excluding Taswater, which is owned by local government. Mr President, I repeat, this is a really important matter. The borrowings of the energy entities represent 95% of the total state sector borrowings. And judging by the budgeted tax and dividend payments to government, we know Hydro Tasmania's profitability is near zero. Mr President, it's important for us to understand what assumptions underpin the ability of the major energy entities to deliver returns to government as budgeted, and what the downside risks to both companies are. It is very clear that changes to energy policy, both within Australia and internationally, pose a number of serious threats to the ongoing profitability and future direction of the major energy entities, particularly Hydro Tasmania. This inquiry would enable those important matters to be explored and discussed in a meaningful and informative way. These businesses are very important to the future of the state, and we do need to not only understand the challenges as well as the opportunities they face, we must explore these challenges and opportunities more regularly and assess the risk management strategies the energy entities have in place. We also need to better understand what opportunities exist in the future and what actions are taken to capitalise on these opportunities. Mr President, we know that the major energy entities' business plans have been formalised and lodged with government. Therefore, it's also timely to reflect on and review these and the financial position of these entities on a regular and ongoing basis. Mr President, I emphasise that the aim of the inquiry is a familiarisation of the financial accounts and the challenges facing and opportunities presented to both businesses. This is not a witch hunt. This will enable us to build a better, more informed basis for parliamentary scrutiny of such a critical component of the state sector, rather than the biennial questioning for 2 to 3 hours, which inevitably is a waste opportunity due to mainly to our lack of familiarity with the ins and outs of the operations of these organisations. This process will assist members to gain a better and more thorough understanding of how these entities operate and what their strengths and weaknesses are. Mr President, an article was published on March the 9th, also reaffirmed my view of the need for this inquiry. The article, titled "The Sun Isn't Shining on Old Energy Sectors," was authored by Michael West and made some relevant and in many ways concerning observations. I'll just quote a couple of sections from this article. It said, electricity prices have run too high. Renewable energy is rapidly getting cheaper, more efficient, and power companies are desperately trying to lock in customers and stave off incursion from renewables. End quote. Mr West also notes changes in the international arena, and these changes will present a risk and challenge to our energy entities in Tasmania. And I quote again from the report. Meanwhile, it has been underreported here, but India has detailed a radical shake-up in energy policy, which has ramifications for Australia. Handing down the nation's budget, the Indian Finance Minister announced a 5-fold increase in renewable energy installations, higher taxes on coal and a cut in excise on solar hot water systems. End quote. Mr President, I do encourage members to read the whole article, as this and other commentary on this topic means it's vital that the energy entities and energy policy development considers the decisions of other jurisdictions and other countries, as they will inevitably impact on Tasmania. Mr President, I also note an article that I read on Renew Economy website, an independent website that was launched in 2012 to discuss the ideas, analyse the trends and new technologies and the policies that will drive this transformation. In a report titled "Tasmania Missing $2.8 Billion Opportunity for Big Clean Energy Exports," and I quote just a couple of sections from that report. And again, I commend the entire reports to all members because they are very interesting, but this report states, "The energy uncertainty surrounding carbon pricing and more recently the renewable energy target has effectively quelled appetite for investment in new low emission generation in Australia over the last few years." And further he goes on to say, "We have glimpsed an opportunity for Tasmania in a carbon-constrained world as a net energy exporter. Not without some sense of irony, Tasmania's long investment in hydro makes it the greenest low-emission power supplier in Australia by a very long margin." Mr President, the report goes on to discuss the benefits and challenges of being connected to the national electricity market by the Basslink cable. It also considered Hydro's Tasmania's opportunities to manage electricity systems in a carbon-constrained world and benefit from wind power generation opportunities. The report goes on further to say, and I quote, "But the carbon pricing years show Basslink also provides Tasmania with the infrastructure for sustained export of electricity should it increase generation capacity." And further, "Indeed, the inherent value of wind is increased by coupling with a large dispatchable storage system such as hydro. Currently, Tasmania potentially provides one of the best investment opportunities for wind generation in Australia." And further, "Such an investment would cost about $2.8 billion for the generation capacity plus some of the local transmission extension and to connect into Basslink." Thank you. And it goes on to say, "The clincher for Tasmania, the investment could be entirely paid for by mainland customers. As we glimpsed during the carbon tax years, the northward flow of electrons is one way of exciting the downward flow of dollars for a much-needed investment in Tasmanian industry." End quote. So, Mr President, we cannot have our heads in the sand, and it's incumbent on us in this place to ensure our energy entities have an eye to the future and a plan to deal with these current and emerging issues and challenges. Mr President, the possible job creation that could flow with such investment is significant. It's important that we, as members of Parliament, particularly in our role through the government business scrutiny, understand what our major energy entities are doing in this area. Are they looking to the future? How are they mitigating their risks? What are the major risks they face and major challenges they face? What are the real opportunities for growth and how are they responding to these? Mr President, timely scrutiny enables these issues not only to be aired, but also for the energy entities to demonstrate their planning and risk management priorities and actions. Scrutiny through this process is different from GBE scrutiny hearings and is one of the main reasons the government administration committees were established. I believe we have a responsibility, indeed it is incumbent on us, to use the committee system to promote an understanding of public policy issues and challenges before us. Arguably, our role should be proactive, not merely reactive when something goes wrong. It should also provide opportunities for the earlier detection and scrutiny of emerging challenges rather than being informed after the event. We need to understand how the energy entities will manage risk and how they plan to respond to national and international changes in energy policy. It is vital that we take the opportunity to ensure Tasmanian energy entities are not captured by the past, focusing on old energy policy and practices, potentially failing to move in a timely manner. After all, we are all stakeholders in this, and the state sector bottom line heavily depends on their ongoing profitability. So, Mr President, in seeking support for this motion, I ask members to consider the following questions. Is this an appropriate and reasonable inquiry to take? Is it important that we as elected members participate in the scrutiny of government businesses in a regular and informed way, thus adding to our understanding of the operations and the financial sustainability of these businesses? Is it important to engage in public debate and increase the awareness of the general public about the operations and financial sustainability of our government businesses? Is it important to have regular scrutiny of government businesses that hold 95% of the state sector debt? And are there a range of other factors occurring internally within Tasmania, nationally and internationally, that could or will impact on the ongoing financial performance of these entities? And if so, what are our energy entities doing to address these challenges? Mr President, if any of these questions are answered in the affirmative, it is evident that such an inquiry is warranted and appropriate, and I seek the support of the honourable members for this motion.